The old cabin didn't just shake that night, it screamed like 100 years of hard luck and mountain wind all breaking loose at once. For a split second, I thought maybe the big pine in the front yard had finally given up and crashed through the porch, but then the smell hit cordite sharp and furious, mixed with the dust of 4 generations. Before my ears could even start ringing, 3 shadows poured through the hole where my front door used to be, shapes cut from the dark. Not just men, but something colder dressed in tactical gear, so black it swallowed up the light from my lamp. They moved like wolves, smooth and silent, not at all like the small-town deputies who get winded walking to their cars. A flashlight beam pinned me in my armchair. Police. The word cracked like a whip. Hands where I can see them. My hands went up slow and steady. My glass of sweet tea still sat on the table, ice cubes clinking like a distant memory of normalcy, while my heart was hammering out of my chest, but my breathing steady. Panic is for people who can afford it. 40 years as an investigative journalist. Yeah, I'm Jack Riley. 62 now. I've had guns pointed at me by drug runners in Miami, corrupt senators in D.C., you name it. I retired to this cabin my grandfather built after World War II, hoping to find a little peace. Turns out peace isn't permanent. "What's this about?" I asked, and if my voice trembled, I couldn't hear it. The lead guy, tall, lean eyes like cold glass, held up a laminated sheet, acting like this was routine instead of a home invasion. "You're in violation," he says, monotone. "Property is non-compliant with aesthetic modifications as outlined in the covenant. Failure to adhere to the visual harmony statutes of the Lakeview Estates Homeowners Association." I nearly laughed. "Son, the edge of Lakeview Estates is 5 miles down the mountain. This land's been in my family since '53. There's no HOA here." He didn't blink, just nodded to his buddies. "Search the premises." This wasn't a search. Not really, it was a sweep. The kind you pay real money for. One went to the kitchenette, one to the bedroom, moving like dancers at a funeral, eyes raking every inch. The leader stood by the fireplace, glancing at the old stone hand drifting near his vest, then down toward the hearth just for a second. Then he stepped back, subtle as a rattlesnake. The other 2 came out. Clear one grunted. Then the leader tossed a little metal disc onto my table, the red light blinking like a warning. "Perimeter compliance monitor," he lied, and the 3 of them slipped out the ruined doorway, boots silent on pine needles. A black SUV started up outside, taillights bleeding into the night. I stared at the splintered frame, the blinking red eye, the boot prints on my grandma's old rug. This wasn't law enforcement. The gear was too slick, the excuse too stupid. This was a message plain as day. I picked up the device, the red light pulsing in my palm. You don't destroy evidence, you study it. 40 years of chasing bad guys taught me that. I took it to my workbench, magnifier in one hand, tools in the other. It was no off-the-shelf bug custom job, expensive, serious range. I patched the door with plywood, sat with my shotgun, and waited for sunrise, nerves wound tight but mind working overtime. Right after dawn, I heard the gravel crunch and the slow, limping steps of my neighbor Walt Kowalski, retired Marine, bad knee, half a mile through woods. He brought coffee and concern. "Jack, you in there?" "Heard a hell of a ruckus last night. He saw the new door. Bare." "Something like that?" I shrugged. We drank coffee in tense silence. "Walt talked about the new HOA in town, run by some woman named Evelyn Reed. Thinks she's a queen. You ought to put up trail cams. Can't be too careful, you know how it goes." Something about his advice felt too rehearsed, but paranoia comes free with my line of work. I thanked him, watched him limp away, and tried not to let suspicion turn into guilt. The next days were straight out of a psychological warfare manual. 2 days after the raid, I found a deer neck snapped placed by my well. A warning. Every night, branches cracked just beyond the porch light, footsteps crunched in places where nobody should be. Then came the letter, Appalachian Environmental Quality Board, a fake agency. I was being accused of contaminating groundwater, referring not so subtly to that dead deer. Threats of fines, property seizure, immediate inspection. A paper trail to justify whatever they had planned. Meanwhile, up the mountain, Evelyn Reed's office was pure glass and steel, the opposite of my dusty cabin. She finished a call, voice cold as a blade. "Our investors want that parcel. Stop asking. Final incentive. Authorize it." Her problem was I wasn't folding under pressure like the rest. By Friday, nerves fried, I needed supplies, needed to see the world outside my war zone. I headed down the mountain in my old Ford. At the curve by Miller's Creek, I hit the brakes. Nothing. The pedal went to the floor. No grab. Nothing but empty space and momentum. The truck lunged. I yanked the emergency brake, shifted gears, fishtailed and scraped along the mountain rock sparks, flying truck shrieking until I came to a halt inches from disaster. Underneath the brake line was cleanly cut a message, not an accident. I had Gus, a tow truck buddy I trusted, drop me at the main road, slipped into the woods. I wasn't scared anymore, just cold and clear. If they wanted war, they had it. Back at the cabin, I rigged my old journalist gear, hidden cameras in the trees, mics in the porch rail. I'd fight them with evidence. Online, I dug into Evelyn Reed. On the surface, she was civic royalty, but below a string of shell companies' lawsuits, real estate grabs, and one developer in Charlotte who didn't build condos, they built mines. The thugs echelon strategic solutions. Not security. Hired muscle dishonorably discharged from overseas. It was all lining up. But facts weren't enough. I needed a legal nuke, so I called David Chen, old friend Sharp, as Attack owed me a favor. I laid it out for him, clipped and cold. He was on a flight by nightfall, and by morning my cabin was a command post. Laptops everywhere, David in lawyer hacker mode. We found it the Y in a dusty footnote from 1957, a geological survey sealed by judicial order signed by Horatio P. Reed, Evelyn's grandfather. My land. High-purity lithium near the surface. In the 50s, it wasn't a game-changer, but now lithium's the new gold. Every phone, every electric car, my cabin sat on a fortune. We needed proof of the conspiracy, and it came from the porch mic. I caught Walt on the phone, scared out of his mind, telling Evelyn I survived the brake job. He knows, he whispered. Evelyn's answer was venom. The plans accelerated. Saturday night. Extraction team handles it permanently. Just make sure his lights are on after 10. I played it for David. Attempted murder conspiracy, the works. He wanted to go straight to the cops. No, I said, if we do, they'll scatter, cut a deal, maybe even walk. We let them come catch them in the act. No deniability, just justice. Saturday night, the trap was set. Storm rolling in, state police hidden in the woods, David and I down in the root cellar, watching the feeds from my cameras. At 10:17 p.m., the black SUV rolled up. 4 thugs in tactical gear fanned out. Walt flicked the porch light, his signal. The thugs burst in, met with a blast of strobe lights and sonic hell, police sirens from hidden speakers, oil on the floors, every trick I could muster. They panicked, trapped inside. Outside, Evelyn and Walt showed up in a silver Lexus, Evelyn looking like she'd already won, Walt pale as a ghost. I came out from the woods, digital recorder in hand, and hit play, my voice, then hers. Extraction team handles it permanently. No more mistakes. She snapped, screaming about birthright, her grandfather, her years of setup, the HOA, the bribes, the whole rotten plan spilled out in front of hidden police. Suddenly, the woods exploded with light and the crack of a bullhorn. State police. You are surrounded. Evelyn froze. Walt sobbed. The thugs hauled out in cuffs. 3 months later, the land was healing, door-replaced forest reclaiming old scars. Evelyn's looking at 25 to life. Walt got 10 for testifying. The developer and county officials all went down. David and I sat on the porch drinking whiskey, staring at the lake. What now, Jack? Sell out, retire rich? I shook my head. The lithium stays in the ground. This land's for living, not for selling. The money from the settlement. It'll fund a nonprofit, a legal defense for anyone bullied by corrupt HOAs, greedy developers, or crooked officials. David just smiled, raised his glass. Guess I'm not retiring after all. And just like that, the war was over, but for the first time in years, I had a reason to fight again. For myself. For every stubborn soul who just wants to live in peace until someone knocks on their door and tries to take it all away. And next time, they won't have to stand alone. So what do you think, folks? Was I right to take the fight to them, or should I have trusted the system to work it out? Tell me below, where does justice end and vengeance begin? I'm honestly curious, because out here sometimes the line between hero and outlaw is just a patch of dirt no one else remembers until it's worth something.